Golly. I can't believe I'm writing this letter. Or actually doing a video letter. And not to mention doing something about something I kept talking about but nobody listens to. And I'm hoping maybe this gets to the right person. John Avlon of CNN. Well, this more pathetic fool is Zombie from Rosemont, California. John Weaver from Rosemont, California, West Coast. Barely alive, barely awake. It's about midnight. It's a minute after midnight here Pacific Standard Time. It is October 16th, 2021. Upon checking the national and local headlines just to say some things to respond to on my own YouTube channel, I try to do stuff that's controversial, pisses people off left or right, and upsets them a great deal, not to mention Facebook and YouTube, because if I happen to talk of something, I'm usually getting flagged left and right. And the thing that I came across was a series that Mr. Avlon had been trying to talk to people about, and a lot of people over here have a hard time talking about it, even though they do it all the time. Okay. Your correspondents have been asking questions to other people concerning about if people are racist or not. Put it out there. I am. Okay. I am. And this will piss people off, and this is how I view it. This is not saying that I value European descendants or European ancestors all that much, even though I do have them in my bloodstream. I have the genetics of the Europeans in me. And unfortunately, I seem to be one of those generations that skipped one when it came down for following manifest destiny. You see, Mr. Avlon, and whoever watches this video, apparently people don't like to watch or read or understand about history. I've done a lot of videos concerning about my past and how I was growing up and how my mental state is these days. These days, not so good. A lot of things have been challenging me left and right that makes me question and makes me fill out so many flash drives and SD drives of thoughts and viewpoints of life that one of these here days, if I happen to get into a memory loss, at least I'll have something to remember by. I think that's sidetracking right now. Let's hope we don't get into another sidetracking situation over here, but I just wanted to get a little bit of a foundation here. Yes, I am racist, but hear me out on that one. Because the videos I've been saying these days are not about American Nazi parties or white power or European dominance or the fear of one side taking control of others. No, what I'm saying is I'm usually having a problem with elitism. It's what happens when an old fart happens to get along new ideas and political science classes and starts to learn the world more and more than what you've seen. And paraphrase and try to shorten it up. My education had been somewhat limited in the LA Unified School District growing up between the 1970s and all the way through the 1980s. And then I had to deal with the collegiate system there too. About a couple of years, screwed up, and I really had to learn about what education meant to me, working my butt off for 30 years straight. And during that time is where the real education is, not in book form. Because real education is when you're dealing with interaction with people and their attitudes, knowledge base, how they get along with people, how they get along with anybody else. Now, I can learn a lot in the workplace just by observation only. and listening. Doesn't mean I'm going to be a very good reporter at that point, but I take in a lot of data in my head. And what I've gathered in some portions, that in the past 30 years, companies have struggled like crazy, both personally in the workplace and reading about it and encountering it in the news medias of the time, of what racism is supposed to be and not to be, and what's supposed to be expressed and what's not supposed to be expressed. You could try expressing a religious viewpoint. You could try expressing something of a figure. But the thing is, when it came down for the ugly term of the racism is right over here, and having that demonstrated more than one way, it really blows your mind. Sometimes I had to ask myself why people were doing this thing in the first place. When I was growing up, I had been among an eclectic amount of people. Let me rephrase that one. I had a lot of multiracial people. I had blacks. I had whites. I had Latinos. I had Asians. Like, that's the only things I actually noticed in my neighborhood. But the thing that I did notice is any gangs pushing people around because of their skin color. Only because if you're a little kid, that's another thing altogether. If you're a little kid, you get trumped on by the bigger kids. Junior high and senior high kids actually did that to little kids growing up. Grew up in North Hollywood for a while. Then I shuffled over to Arleta. And I learned more about what racism was there too. But I also remembered the balance of what being a non-racist was. When my family was moving from North Hollywood to Arleta back in 1976, I was only a young tyke of 9 years old. My brother is 8 years older than I am. Drove a car. Finally got his license. Not a very good driver at the time either, but he tried. We were moving from one place to another place, and our neighbors next door, I still think were the greatest. We all mixed. Didn't matter what the race was. It was only matter what these people were like. I mean, these people were. They may have been racially mixed left and right. It didn't matter what the hell the skin color was. They were loving people. They didn't like racism one damn bit. And I really didn't understand racism during that time until when I moved into the little town of Arleta at the time. And then I started understanding what racism was all about. Well, when you're a token white boy coming into an elementary school at the time, they still had a few white teachers in there, but the students were racially mixed, mostly Latina, a few blacks, a few whites, blood Asians. But even the whites were getting picked on, and especially if you're small and scrawny. And that's what happened. And the thing is, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. I thought she was the cutest, smartest person I ever met. I learned that the guys who are doing the racism stuff are idiots. They're the ones who actually cared about each other. Didn't matter about the skin color during that time. But I also noticed that And certain church groups actually were among the area. They were kind of selective. They were kind of selective concerning about their racial equality, shall we say. They didn't have to say it because the group was all white. Of course, in this church group during summertime, I was taught about sciences, about astronomy, and about sailing. We've been on a sailing trip with all white people on there, but no Latino or mixed. Kind of sucked. It would have been interesting. These boys around my age, mixed, they didn't care. No, this was basically a white person here. And I didn't have as much fun. My neighbors weren't there for a short time because they were going to be moving out of the area, not even for that brief time, but for that brief year or two. I had friends. I had playmates. I started learning more and more about people and cultures, about the different musics that they listen to. It's one thing growing up under hard rock and roll all your life, but then not listening to certain other aspects. Earth, wind, fire. That King Cole. Satchmo. Duke Ellington. Cool in the game. Listening to that music. I'm listening to it and I'm digging it. I'm digging it. And I'm seeing through picnics that my friends had taken me to that I didn't have to be, a racial idiot. These were people, these were family, friends. We came from all over. There was a park that we had gone to in Sutherland. We had a picnic out there. They talked to me about the multicultural aspects of America. You want to talk to me about how people come together, talking about their daily lives. Sometimes they're having carburetor troubles with one car, and the other people are trying to help out with the other. Or trying to siphon gas out of one car so they get the other car filled up in order to get it towed out of there. Regular everyday stuff. Regular everyday stuff. I tried to find this one particular snack shop I couldn't find anywhere in a building now. Gone forever. The spiciest sloppy joes I've ever tasted. Right by Van Nuys. There was a small shop. Yeah, I'm racist. The terms that you're demonstrating to people is how racism is ugly. And it is. But there's the thing about it. I'm a humanist. I'm a human racist. I value humans. I don't value skin color. I value humanity. And I value human as a race. And if that makes me weird or racist, so be it. Then I'm a racist. And that would mean any and all religions and politics. Well, politics are a different thing altogether, but That's the battleground that's been splitting some parties, and our viewpoints have been driving us crazy left and right throughout the centuries. And yes, if people actually bother to read history from different sources and different various points of views, they will try to get a broader aspect of how humanity has treated each other or mistreated each other. As I said before, I didn't have that much education when it came down for the LA Unified School District, trying to shove stuff down the throat, trying to make sure that I could repeat it back to them, so I could quote-unquote graduate. Because there was no understanding of what we were reading. There was no understanding of why we're reading all this stuff. There was no context. There was no perspective. And after 30 years of wandering away from the collegiate side, let me explain about the collegiate side there, Mr. Avlon, or to whoever's watching. When I went to Pierce College, it was between 85 and 87. 1985, 1987. Let's make that clarification there. I didn't take American history. I took English history. Didn't do a very good job in one particular semester because this one professor was putting me to sleep. He had this monotone voice and he kept talking about cloak and daggers and cloaks. Tudors, and I just like, forget it. This is English history, backstabbing people left and right. No wonder we're so cutthroat these days. We're so damn cutthroat, I don't even know how to explain it. Maybe us European descendants are piratical, pirates. We pilfer, we plunder, we rifle and loot. I am not drinking up, and I'm not saying, oh, thank you very much. The mouse will do that for you. Switch over to the ABC, and the mouse will take care of you. Yes, I drink on the air. But I wanted to explain more. I've been trying to follow up on that reality clip that you put out there for this week. I've been trying to follow some of these people are what they're talking about. And what I kept hearing is manifest destiny. Now this was already playing out partially in our courses, but it never was explained in detail growing up. And I went back to college. Due to certain circumstances beyond my control, I have found myself on a disabled list for both physical and mental health. So, in order to move forward with my life, I decided to go back to school. Now, since my family are not here to see me continuing on with the education further on, makes it kind of hard. This is where part of the mental health comes in with your grief and stuff. Very close with my brother, my mother. 2018, most recently, 2013. She was trying to teach me all the values I learned. All the stuff I know, because she was trying to keep an open mind of everything and anything as well. He, unfortunately, certain circumstances, didn't follow up on those certain other characteristics or other groups out there that just want one particular skin color. He couldn't stand that at all. But that's going to be a separate video I'm going to be putting on my YouTube channel, so really go into details on that one. I can't tell you that he's former vet, former Navy. And a hell of a lot of love and respect for him. Took care of him the last several years of his life, but also my mother's as well. That being said, back at college, I'd taken courses, the standard courses that you have to get through to get the general basic education system. You have to go through your, let's see, history courses and literature courses. And the sub-courses in that would be open season for any history we're talking about. Next year, it's going to be Black History Month. I was working my way through Political Science 101 and comparative governments and international relations. And let's see, U.S. history, California history, Western civilization, English literature, American literature, world literature. Next is going to be Black history and Indian study. My major is English, but I may change it to something else. I am trying to explain a little bit about my history. I'm trying to explain something that would probably indicate that I am trying to be educated enough. But as I understand, even some of the most educated people out there can get their heads so screwed up and screwed around things. I did not know about the Great Gatsby, even though that one should have screamed at me in the first place. And this book was covered in one of my English classes. We were talking about American literature. And this was one of those books that we actually have. I still have the book. But the book prior to that was driving me crazy, was Huckleberry Finn. Something you guys didn't touch about. This book had been gone through the ringer for how many decades already? How many libraries and how many school systems have been arguing with this book for how long? And yet Samuel Clemens comes out with a novel concerning about Tom Sawyer and then about Huckleberry Finn, Life of the Mississippi River. Now, what people keep looking at is the life of the river and think how adventurous it is going up and down the mighty Mississippi or the Missouri. What they're not looking is the culture. They're not looking as the people he's emulating in the book. What he's not talking about is neighborhoods that you're going through left and right, and how they're treating people or mistreating people left and right, and the language, not to mention that. And as soon as I picked up the book on this one, I knew this was dynamite. I even explained my disagreements with the professor because I didn't understand the damn book, except I understand it was racist. Because as soon as I heard some of the language in there, I'm like, why am I reading this damn book? But Clemens wrote it that way. He wanted to educate the people what the hell was going on during this time, and how screwed up their thought patterns were during the time. How they were mistreating people left and right. How they were mistreating the black people left and right. Let's just put it out there. Mistreating the black people left and right. And how both of them actually looked at that race. Because in reality right now, I'm seeing that here. But not among the whites telling the blacks anything concerning about being a nigger. No. I'm seeing the blacks telling the other blacks about being a nigger. And listening to music at the same time. Nigger this, nigger that, nigger, 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 nigger. My grandmother, would have a field day with this. My grandmother was a school teacher. And I didn't realize that she also had a bias in her too. She was an English teacher, teaching in one room, one house, one room, schoolhouse. Back in the 1920s and 30s. I didn't realize she was smart, she was funny, she had musical talent, and she was also biased. certain neighborhoods that either allowed it or disallowed it. Usually affects my own behavioral and my own judgments left and right. Because I had seen both sides of it, I decided, don't push it. Live and let live. Enjoy who you've got right now, as friends and family members. Enjoy who you meet, even though they may be coming from a different language or a different country altogether, or a different religious or aspect of it. Enjoy them. They're bringing uniqueness into your life that you haven't seen. It's like looking at chicken and dumplings without the vegetables in it. How bland, Mr. Avlon, and those who are watching this, can you make chicken and dumplings? I'm serious. How bland? Without seasoning, without vegetables to bring out a little bit of flavor in here. It's pretty damn bland. Use this in a different cooking analogy. Okay. Beef stew. Beef stew. What goes with beef stew? Let's say you got your beef, has to be braised, and then you have to use beef broth and basically boil it up a little bit. Actually, slow cooking is better. You have your seasonings, you have your vegetables, you have your starches, you have your thickening agents. And whatever kind of form of action that you make your stew into, you're still trying to get the unique flavors out of the thing. Or better yet, Mr. Avlon, have you ever heard of the story of the stone soup? Surely you've come across it in your lifetime. And for those who have been watching this, even among your staff over there, you surely have heard of that stone soup. A traveler, a hungry traveler, goes into a town, wants to barter for a meal. Nobody wants to because he's different. He's not of the town. He's not of them. Actually, he's them. He's not of us. So in order to get this town together, in order for him to get a good meal out of this, he gets a pot, he gets a stone, he fills the pot with water, with the stone in there, he gets a fire going. He starts to cook. He has his cooking utensils inside of his pack that he carried with him. And he's testing it out. And every so often there's a curious person coming over there, wondering what the hell he's doing. They get more and more curiouser until someone actually starts volunteering to put vegetables, meat, potatoes, flavoring, seasoning, thickener, until you have yourself a soup, or almost a stew. And then everybody shares in it. Everybody who's different, everybody who's the same. They all share the same pot. What was it that they called America? Great American Melting Pot. Yeah, we forgot about that one a while ago, didn't we? This is the reason why I should have been paying more and more attention to what my grandmother and my mother were trying to tell me, and what the other elders were trying to tell me. Because my younger generation didn't know what to ask about hot rock and still doesn't, and neither does yours. I'm 55, I'm getting there. So I've seen, I've heard, and I didn't pay attention enough to what the elder generation was telling me what was going on. Because even some of them didn't like some of the changes that we've seen. And over the past decades, I've seen too much of it. Both on the screen and the media, but also personally. And I have to fight it every single day of my life. I have to. neighbors who have different aspects, different skin colors, religion, finances. Doesn't matter. It doesn't mean we're all getting along with each other yet anyway. Some of us actually do. And we look past our differences. We look past our own disabilities. And we do have a lot of disabilities, John. Too many of them. We just don't pay attention to any of them, do we? So yeah, I am a racist. I value the human race, and I'm a racist that way. So yes, I'm a racist. But in the context that you're presenting to people, what they're trying to tell people at this point over here is how to be more and more divisive and deriding at the same time. Sort us out left and right. I don't think human beings were meant to be subdivided. I don't think we were. We're supposed to be wandering around and trying to deal with ourselves and trying to deal with our neighbors. Unfortunately, with our own innate behavioral system built into our genetics somehow, we distrust the other person, no matter shape or function, form, or skin coloring, or belief, or language, or whatever. They are the them. They're not of us. It sucks. It sucks talking about this around midnight. It sucks coming across a news article like this online. It sucks because it shouldn't be out there in the first place. And yet, there it is. Out there, waiting to be discussed. How dare you? You people in media dare to challenge the powers that be. Don't you know what the powers that be yet? Okay, we gotta get overly dramatic here, okay? Fine. Don't you understand what's going on? Okay, we haven't got ourselves overly dramatic yet. Okay, maybe we gotta make myself more louder and more frustrated at this point over here. Get myself a box or stand up, something like this. Okay, here we go. Damn, now you can't even see me. I got a problem here. In order to demonstrate my own insecurity, my own fear, my own threat, I have to show something of worth. I suppose the damn thing is a damn thing, so I might as well put this shit. I guess that doesn't. How about a monkey with a head on it? Does that work? Okay. Okay, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. But you get what kind of a buffoon I'm acting at this point over here, not to mention waking up my neighbors at this point. I should be sleeping instead of doing this thing. But here I am, trying to convey a point to people that, look, I may be just as screwed up as you guys are at this point. And yes, I do have my hang-ups. I don't like rap music. I never have. R&B I consider rhythm and blues, back from the 60s and 70s, or actually from the 50s, 60s and 70s and 80s. After that, I don't know what the hell they call it after that. So that wasn't rhythm and blues for me. I grew up under an eclectic amount of music. Some I liked and others I didn't. I'd listen to musical scores of television shows or movies or plays. Phantom of the Opera, Under Lord of Thunder, Robert P.M. singing. it's as powerful as listening to Crawford when he sang it. Because they both had powerful voices. Or even listening to the iconic James Earl Jones when he does his narration. I've known a lot of good folks. I've known a lot of good people. That meant a damn thing to me. That when they died, I cried like crazy. A friend, family I talked to you about, concerning about the 1976 moving in from North Hollywood, Arlen. Friends with them for decades. Things have fallen out. With the death of their matriarch, their mother. I guess the communication lines and life happening just kind of separated things and something like that. I wish we still had the communication lines again, because I miss them a great deal, and I still love them. They're my family. They're my family. And John, there's nothing more important. Nothing more important in the universe than family. It's not exactly the bloodline that you're born with or the genetics. It's a group of people that you have around you that actually care about you and you care about them. No matter where they came from or who they came from or if they got born out of a damn test tube or a biologic or whether or not they were actually manufactured. Of course, we all are manufactured. What I'm trying to explain, what I'm trying to say, is I don't buy into their bullshit. Forget my language. I know it's probably get bleeped out somehow, but I don't buy into their insanity. I heard that one guy concerning about their European culture that still has to be preserved because he's fearing that white power is lessening. And there's more cultural dominance. This guy doesn't do his homework, does he? No, he's stuck on stupid. And I admit I'm stuck on stupid. I admit that. I admit that there's also a level of intolerance I've got going sometimes, and I have to challenge that. I have to challenge myself at times. Because I gotta find out where the hell I'm coming from, and where the other guy's coming from, and whether or not we actually are communicating effectively with each other or not. I've got people around here I care about. Different as they are than I am. I don't have any problem with that. What I do have a problem with is people look down on them because they are different. And that really angers me. That pisses me off in the end. I don't support people like that. Call me a fool and idiot. Go ahead. I've had a lot of people call me a fool and idiot. I call myself a fool and idiot a great deal. But I give a hoot. I care about people around me. It's just sometimes I wish I can get that kind of response to it. So, in conclusion, John, and to those watching over CNN or whoever's watching the video, because I'll be posting this right after I get this thing made. Look, we're all different. We're all screwed up. We're all unique. We're all fools and idiots in our own minds. And one second here. Usually let me putting people on pause for this, but just give me one quick second here. I just want to check what's going on. Please tell me what's going on. Please tell me what's going on. Smash Mouth. Okay, I was trying to get that thing out of in my head there. Smash Mouth did the thing for Why Can't We Be Friends? What's wrong with that? Because the thing of it is, I don't think anybody actually understands that. Why can't we be friends? Unless, of course, John, Mr. Avlon, and that others like you are going to be puffing out the chest again and getting a serious tone with a ridiculous look on your face saying, I am more important than anybody else. I am more important than anybody else because me and my ego, my fears, my phobias dictated so, and therefore, in order to suppress you, I must act like the total, absolute, full idiot here. I must yell and scream at the top of my lungs that I am more important than you are. And you should be suppressed because I am better than you are, and I, and I, and I. I can't tell you how many times this damn thing's going to go all like this. And that's what we got, isn't it? So, with that, I don't know about you, Mr. Avlon, and I don't know about you other folks out there in CNN land, and also whoever's been watching this video over here. Thank you for indulging a lunatic here. And if I happen to see you on the streets, let us hope we don't look at each other as enemies, but exactly as friends yet to be introduced to each other. Of course, you may be having a gully club in the back or something else ready to go after me. Let's hope we don't discover that just yet, okay? Spoils the fun and surprise. As for me, well, I am a Trekkie. It's a different thing altogether. I could do videos on this damn thing. Live long and prosper. Hello, hello.